Today on the AM show, we interview Christine Odle, small business finance coach and author of Rockin' Your Business Finances. She talks managing your business finances when starting a business and how to manifest your ideas in the form of a book. This is the AM show with Arts Music Lawyer, where ambition and motivation meet persistence and drive, where your wildest dreams come true and even the greatest possibilities become realities. Listen to people just like you who stay authentic to who they are and master the art of their craft. Are you sharing the art of you? The art of you is music to my ears. Stay focused, stay on track. Create a new lifestyle with ambition and motivation. The AM Show. Hello, ambitious and motivated listeners, and welcome to another episode of the AM Show with Marcella Dominguez. Today, I bring you Christine Odle, and she is a #1 best-selling author, and she's going to tell you today how she brought this book to fruition and her journey in marketing her business and establishing herself as a businesswoman in Colorado. Hi, Christine.
Hi, Marcella. Thank you so much. First, I want to say that I'm not really a #1 bestseller in the charts, but Amazon does rank my book pretty high on a regular basis. So then that's exciting. And it has been ranked #1 in Amazon a couple of times. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah. It's really great to be here and serve your audience. And I hope that we can give them some great information.
Well, I'm so excited to have you here. You know, you and I go pretty far back, a couple of years. So I'm really excited to, introduce you to everybody and have you share as much knowledge as you have shared with me. So if you could just start by telling everybody, what your services are, what your businesses are.
Well, I'm a small business coach and a personal finance coach, and I do speaking and wrote a book and coaching. And I work with people like you and your husband and small business owners specifically, teaching them about first off, their personal finances, because what are you in business for, right? To make money for the personal. And then once we figure out your personal finances and get them in order, we can also get the business finances in order. So it's kind of twofold. I get a lot of people that come to me are like, well, I just want business coaching. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't quite work. You can't just have business coaching because the reason you're in business is to make money for yourself, right? So that's what I do is I teach you how to, put those two major components together to build financial success.
Can you expand a little bit more on that? Because I think you touched on a really important point that business finances and personal finances are married, so to speak, and that even when the two are acting separately, they're still connected in a way. So can you expand on that a little bit?
Sure. Can we use you as an example?
No.
Okay. I'll use me as an example.
Okay.
So my husband and I have 4 companies. And his one company is Odle Electric, which was started in 1947. His parents started that before he was born. Then he was born in 1954. And then he started working in 1957 as the chief connectors sorter at the age of 3. So now he's 65. He's worked in this company his whole life. So he started as an employee. And a lot of us start as employees in companies. And sometimes we say, okay, well, we don't want to stay an employee for someone else. We want to go out and start our own company. So in my husband's example, he didn't really start his own company, but he gradually took over management of the company and then eventually ownership, especially since both of his parents have passed on now. There's that kind of business owner. But as your employee, your wages are set by your employer. You don't really have a choice other than if you do exceptionally well, you might get a raise or you might get cost of living raises or you might grow within the company. Those are how your wages change. But as a business owner, your focus is going to be on sales. So you're the sales and marketing, you're the financial officer, you're all the hats of the business. And you have to not only bring in the sales, you have to serve the sales. So you bring in the new client, then you have to serve them. And then you get paid. And then you take out all the business expenses, and at the end of the day, you hope you make more money at your job that you've created for yourself than you did as an employee of another company. So when you're putting those two together as a business owner, you're saying, how much do I have to price my product up here so it trickles down to I'm making more as good or better wages than I've had at my employer. Part of understanding that is understanding how much we need to have at home to manage our household. If we have children to feed, we might need a certain amount of money. If we have a roof we would like to keep over our head, we need a certain amount of money. If we want to have a car to drive, we need a certain amount of money. So all of those pricing up here in your sales, we still have to figure out how much money we need down here to live life. And that's why the two are so interactive. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense, especially because I've personally been through your coaching and I found it extremely useful. And so I kind of want to give entrepreneurs that are listening maybe some tips and maybe tricks. What do you think are some of the biggest mistakes that people make, maybe when intertwining the two, or if they're just starting?
Some of the biggest mistake I made, I was working for a company as their office manager, and then they said, oh, well, we're going to leave town so you can start your own company doing this too. And I said, great, I'll give myself a raise. So this was back in the early 90s, and I was making $15 an hour, and my raise was $16 an hour. I wasn't really thinking. I didn't raise myself enough to say, okay, now I need my own computer. I need to be able to go from job to job, so I need transportation. I need to have a cell phone. I didn't calculate all of that in. I also didn't calculate in the employer taxes that I would have to pay. So so part of that becomes one of the biggest things is not pricing your product high enough. The other big one I hear all the time is, I ask, well, when was the last time you got paid? And they'll say, oh, I don't get paid because I just put it all back into the company. Like, okay, that's great. We're excited. We're building our company. But if you're not getting paid, I know any job in the nation, if you go to work and you don't get paid, somebody's going to quit. Or we're not working for that company anymore because nobody goes to work and doesn't get paid. There's a little saying that runs around the entrepreneur world. You're willing to work 80 hours a week for nothing as an entrepreneur, but you would never work 40 hours a week for someone else doing the exact same thing. So we tend to abuse ourselves the most as small business owners, that's where you get a lot of the burnout. And so pricing your product high enough to cover business expenses and personal is really important. Other thing, especially startup businesses, is we say, oh, well, I'm going to take some of my personal money and I'm going to put it in the company so I can build it up and I can buy all those things like computers and cell phones and such. And then later on, I'll pay myself back. But instead of actually just paying ourselves back, we try to claim that as income, which means we pay taxes on the money. It's not income. And then when we pay ourselves back, we try to pay that back in payroll or distributions, which means you get taxed again. So you're taking money that you've already paid tax on, put it in the company, and then you try to claim it as sales. Oh, we want to not look like we made a huge loss, so we claim it as sales and we pay tax, and then we take it out and we pay tax again. So this is basically triple taxation just by not understanding what your money is doing for you. Does that make sense?
Yes. So what do you think entrepreneurs should be asking themselves when they start right out of the gate? What should they be doing to avoid some of these issues?
One thing you should do is really get in touch with your money, because it is anytime you're in business, it's about money. And I hear people all the time like, oh, I'm afraid of the money. Well, okay, if you're afraid of the money, then go get a job and just get a paycheck, because business is money. You're asking people to separate themselves from their money to buy your product. And then you want your company to be profitable. So it's really just learn more about money and what the business needs. And another big mistake I hear about a lot is the write-off. Oh, I didn't want to pay taxes, so I wrote off a bunch of money on stuff I don't need. And so what I always say instead is back off from the write-off, get rid of that word from your financial world and say business expense. Do I need to spend this money to run my company? So legal, legitimate business expense is the other thing I throw in there, because if you're thinking, is this legal? Yeah, get rid of it. We want it to be completely legal and legitimate. Is it legal and legitimate to buy a new computer? Sure. You have to get the $10,000 computer to do a $600 computer job? Maybe not. Or maybe you do. So you want to kind of think about, what do I really need to run my company and how much money do I really need to spend on that? The other common write-offs are a new car. Let's buy a Mercedes instead of a Toyota. That's always a big thing. Going on elaborate vacations, that's another big thing. or, taking everybody out to dinner every night of the week so you can write off the dinner. And that's kind of, all of that is kind of counterproductive. You want to say, do I want to take a client out, treat them to a meal, and then talk about business, because that will build my business or sell a product. And that's a completely different situation. So you want to keep your business expenses business related.
Now, I know that you have a lot of experience with Dave Ramsey and with a lot of his teachings. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, sure. Dave Ramsey is awesome in the personal finance world. His target market is W-2 wage earners making somewhere between $40,000 and $120,000 a year. So if you take his principles and you can apply them, they're awesome principles. Get a baby emergency fund, get out of debt, a big emergency fund, invest in your retirement, save up for some college, pay off your house, build wealth. Those are great principles, and they're completely awesome. As a small business owner, they kind of leave out some important steps. So I add some extra steps. I use the 10 steps of financial wellness myself. And the number one step is building a budget. How much money do you have, and where do you want it to go? Because if you try to do all those 7 steps that Dave Ramsey has, and you don't have your budget, you're going to get lost in the weeds. So if you sit down and say, okay, here's my budget, I'm going to plan every dollar that comes into my world. And then I can say, okay, I need to plan this much for the baby emergency fund, and I need to plan this much for getting out of debt, and this much for a big emergency fund. And you plan that in your budget, then the other steps happen. Okay, so it's kind of the goal-setting form of your money. The information in Dave Ramsey's program is phenomenal. Good friends with many of his employees still. Have been involved with him since actually October of 2001. I went to an event and met him. That day, it was kind of an incredible day for me, because I was kind of screeched through the parking lot. I'm not sure I want to be at this event. What's he going to teach me? I was scared of that whole thing, even though I have an enormous background in banking and finance. I was still kind of, I don't know about this guy, and went to an all-day Saturday seminar. And at the end of the day, I met him, and this is when his team was only about 30 people. Now it's about 700. Met him, and he's like, oh, you're from Colorado. Here, let's help you bring our program, Financial Peace University, to your town. So he and his team basically filled my little car, a little Toyota RAV4 at the time, and filled my car with all kinds of stuff. I have original VHS videos of the Financial Peace University program.
Wow.
And brought that back to my community, a town of 400 people where I live. I taught Financial Peace University 3 times. We had about 55 people go through in a year. So it's a huge percentage of our community went through. At the end of the year, his office was calling me and saying, we're going to teach people how to be coaches. Will you come to Tennessee? And I said, yeah, sure, I'll come to Tennessee. So I went out to Tennessee and trained how to be a Dave Ramsey financial coach. I went through the very first financial coach training. A lot of fun, and still lifelong friendships from that original training.
So I know that a lot of entrepreneurs these days on social media, they listen to, a lot of mainstream entrepreneurs and investors, real estate investors like Grant Cardone, Real Bradley, Ed Milet. And, how do you strike a balance between Dave Ramsey's teachings and maybe those of like Grant Cardone, who say that the only reason that somebody should ever save money is to invest it? Because I know that it's they're leaning one way by listening to one person, and then maybe another way by listening to somebody who's been around for a really long time. So how do you balance those two?
It comes down to you. What do you want? And let's build a plan around you, because I have the real estate. We have 6 houses, and we have, financial investments with mutual funds, our IRAs and all of that. And we have emergency funds. And we do different parts of that. We have 4 businesses, like I said, we do multiple different parts of finance. And really it comes down to what you're comfortable with. I have clients that don't have anything in mutual funds at all. They have no comfort level in that. They're like, no, thank you. I'm afraid of the market. What if we have a recession? It's going up and up and up. It's going to go down, down, down. I'm afraid. I don't want to do it. Great. Don't do it. Find something you're comfortable in. I have one client, he's like 71 years old, and he's still to this day, he doesn't have any investments like that. His investments are in himself and in his teachings and his writings. You know, he works. He's happy. He's doing great. He'll be fine. So it's really comes down to what you want to invest in, what's going to be comfortable for you. I can tell you how they all work. I can tell you how a mutual fund works. I can tell you how not to be afraid of them. I can tell you how to get ready for, you know, when the market does go down. And you know what? It will. It's going to go down. It goes up and it goes down. That's the history of the stock market. But how to go into that wide open, say, oh, when it goes down. So just like when something goes on sale, like I was on frontgate.com, which is a furniture and household products fancy website. And I got an email this morning that final clearance is 40% off. So, gee, do we want to buy when it's 40% off? You tell me, your mom. Do you buy things when they're on sale?
I mean, I prefer when they're 75 to 99% off.
Exactly. So if the market goes down 50%, we want to buy, right? Mm-hmm. So why does everybody get scared? And it's because our media really, there's hype. Up, 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 up. And I mean, the market went down last week and it was like, oh, sell off, sell off, sell off. And I'm like, buy, buy, buy. So a little bit of is kind of gets back to, you know, what do we understand? What do we feel comfortable with so that we can, with really good education and understanding, go into it with our minds wide open on, yes, this is a good thing for me. It's the same thing with real estate. You know, you can buy a really bad house or you can buy a really nice house, or you can, I have another friend who just bought 3 homes in Columbus, Ohio, just outside of Columbus, Ohio for $40,000 a house.
Oh, wow.
He's renting them for $900 a month. There's a huge return on investment on that.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
ROI, return on investment. There's a huge ROI on that. He said he had to go into one of them and put $15,000 of upgrades into it. Oh, darn. He's still going to get his ROI and then some. And so, you know, part of that is just knowing the market. Where I live, you're going to get a $40,000 shed, maybe on a 2,000 square foot lot if you're lucky. You know, that's not a price that my neighborhood would ever see. So it's just understanding your markets and what your comfort level will be with those markets.
I love that tip, actually. So understanding what you're comfortable with and what you want to go into. Love that tip. So that's the second tip already that you've given. So that kind of leads me into, you have clearly found an area that you are comfortable sharing with others. And you have put this into book form with your latest book, Rockin' Your Business Finances. Yes. So share that process with the listeners. You know, how did you get the idea for the book? Who did you go to for advice if you didn't know how to begin this process? And how did you know what information to include in the book?
Sometimes when you know things, it just pops out of your head. But what had happened to me is that through the Dave Ramsey's organization, I met a gentleman named Dan Miller. And you'll see that he did the foreword of my book. Dan Miller is a New York Times bestselling author himself. And so 5 years ago, he invited me into a group called Mastermind Group. And that came from the book, his favorite book, Think and Grow Rich. Get people around you that care about you and will help you to grow and nurture. And he invited about 48 of us, because it's 48 days to the work you love is what he does. 48 of us were originally invited into this group, and a lady named Emily Chase Smith was one of them. And she came into the group, and I immediately found out that she had just published a book called The Financially Savvy Entrepreneur. I'm like, oh, I need that book. I need to see what she has to say, because that's me. You know, but a variance there. But I read the book, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is good. Oh gosh, this is good. And I was just reading it and just devouring it. And I'm like, oh no. The book ended. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. This is too good. It can't end. So I went immediately to my computer and I wrote actually the outline to this book that day. And then I called her, because we, of course, hadn't met yet officially. And so I called her and I said, well, Emily, I just read your book. It was phenomenal, but there's a huge problem. And she's like, that's not something you want to tell somebody after they've already hit publish. What's the problem? And she's like, is there a gremlin in there? And I said, no, it ended. I hate that it ended. And she's like, what do you mean? And I said, I've already written out the outline. You and I, we're going to write the next book. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. And it was, what do you mean you're not doing that? I got all excited with her. And she said, well, what I'd like to do is I'd like to be a ghostwriter. She said, what I want to do is help people who would never write a book, actually sit at the computer and type up a book. I want to help those people put their words into book form. And I said, great, you're hired. When are we starting? And that's what we did is 100% of this book was written just like what you and I are doing today. On Zoom calls, she would say, okay, talk about this part of your outline. And we would talk about it, and I would tell stories about it, and then we'd have it transcribed and put into a book form.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that idea.
It was an incredible process. So Emily, I just saw her a couple weeks ago in California. We're still very, very good friends today. I'm about to grab her and write another book with her. She doesn't know it yet, so if she sees this video, that's what we're doing, Emily. But so she helped me with the process of getting the original manuscript. Then I had to ask Dan Miller if he would write the foreword, and he said yes, graciously. And then I was kind of, okay, now what? And so another really good friend of mine, his name is James Woosley. He's with the freeagentpress.com. His whole thing is taking I always think of in the box, the paper box, and your manuscript and all the papers in there. I'm talking about somebody used a typewriter, and it would go into, this is my book, and he takes this is my book, and he makes it like this. Mm-hmm. He helped me with the cover, all the cover designs. So we had all kinds of cover designs. He helped me with that a bunch. He helped me with writing out the back, coached me on that. If you'll notice on the chapters, there's a little bee on each chapter. His daughter is the artist on the bees because my maiden name is BB. So the bees have kind of been a thing in my life. And so he really took all that together. He taught me all about the ISBNs and the numbers and how to do it and how to format it. We just pulled the plug and said, okay, print. And so we use a company called CreateSpace. CreateSpace, it's through Amazon, but I can print one book or I can print hundreds of books. This week I got an order for 100 books to go out to chiropractors across. Most of them are in this country, but some are in Canada and Australia. So, it's just having it was everything. Mm-hmm. That's the process we went through. So
that's amazing. I mean, how you kind of led me into this segment here that I want to ask you about now, because you've already touched on, okay, I put it together. I put my thoughts and what I know into action by manifesting it as a book. Now what? So you have this book. What about the marketing? What about getting the word out there? What about sharing it with others? What did you do? What was going on?
That's probably, I'm not a marketer. I want to play with the money, but I'm not a marketer. So it's kind of been a little bit of my downfall. So Dan Miller, again, the forward of my book, he's also a good mentor for me. And he says a book really has a shelf life of 10 years. Mm-hmm. Especially with CreateSpace, you can go back in and edit. So if something changes in the tax law, which it's going to, I can go back and edit and have another edition come out. Mm-hmm. Marketing, apparently with this one sale this week, I blew away all of the marketing. People say that if you're lucky, you sell 200 books. Well, I've sold about 400 books so far. Mm-hmm. Not a ton of books, but enough that it's ranked me high in the Amazon rankings. I know that it's serving people. I have CPAs that are taking it to speaking events, and they give away a book at their speaking event. In fact, one of them was telling me in Oklahoma, he said that he had gone and he was supposed to speak twice. They asked him to speak a third time, but he only took 2 books with him. Mm-hmm. And the first session, he gave away a book. The second session, he gave away a book. The third session, a guy came up to him and he said, I want my book. I came to this session because of the book. And so he said, okay, we'll get you that. So I know it's serving people well. I know people are reading it. I know that they're enjoying it. I actually have another friend. His name is David Hancock, and he owns Morgan James Publishing, morganjamespublishing.com. He has asked me to write another version of this because this is actually a workbook. And he actually wants more of a formal reading book, one that you can read out, because it's more of a workbook. It's some instruction and then some application with forms and stuff. But he he's asked me, he's like, okay, when you're ready. And he's been asking me for about a year for it. And that's, again, it's when I'm ready. Yeah, I think I'll go down that road. But marketing your book can be as simple as Facebook ads. It can be as simple as, all I do is every once in a while I'll see a post on Facebook and it'll be about business finance. And I'm like, hey, go on to Kindle Unlimited. My book is still free there. So if you go on Amazon.com, click on Kindle Unlimited, you can get the Kindle version of my book. And to me, that's a bigger marketing because that gets the word out. And what happens a lot of times is people read through the Kindle version and they'll say, oh, wait, I want to write in it. And so they'll go get an actual copy.
Wow. That's great. So what do you think is next for you? So you have these 4 businesses, you have a great book that has topped the charts on Amazon. And so now what?
Anything I want. That's the beauty for me, of business finance and personal finance. It never goes away. So right now I'm doing some speaking, which I love. So I've just got back from California, Atlanta, and Tennessee in the last couple months, going to different events. So speaking is a big thing. Mm-hmm. That definitely gets the word out. Coaching, I've been getting a lot of coaching clients, which of course I love that too, because I really like to dig into the numbers. And, I had a call earlier today with a client that when he came to me, he was, oh my gosh, crazy. I mean, literally every call was calm down. It'll be okay. Calm down. It'll be okay. We'll get there. And he was just frantic. He just thought the world was coming to an end. Now it's a year and a half later. He told me a couple weeks ago he'd never fire me, that I'm going to be his coach forever. And that's because we know that as business owners, it's always evolving. But just today, he said he's $5,000 away from a fully funded emergency fund. He also has 3 companies. So this is 3 companies plus personal fully funded emergency funds. And then he said, want to buy a house, what steps next, and how do and we just now, a lot of the questions you're asking me about the market, real estate, we just navigate through that and build a plan for him as he's going along. And that's how I, work with clients is, we start out with kind of a boilerplate starting point, and then all of them evolve into something else. And I just love about it.
So in your small business coaching business, what is your favorite aspect of the coaching? Is it being able to, I want you to answer this question, not me, but, is it seeing the personal growth and also the business growth? Is it more so being able to share your knowledge and also understand different people's types of problems? Or, what is it? What is it that fulfills you in coaching?
More than anything, and this is just going to sound funny, but more than anything, it's the relationships. Mm-hmm. I never would have known you had we not have attended that same event together, had I not said, hey, let's do this thing. I didn't know anything about you. Cute girl on stage talking to Marcus Lemonis. That was a big deal, right? You went down stage about your goal and your blanket, and that was really exciting. And I'm like, I gotta be a part of this, and I gotta meet this young lady. And so to me, it was about relationship, but part of me being able to be a part of that relationship was I had to bring something to you, because otherwise it's all these people in the room and everybody wants to be my friend. Well, yeah, okay, I'm here for a reason. And so, but we start off, we say, okay, let's build the relationship. I'm going to get to know you. Personal finance, I get into all the weeds. I find out more than you ever wanted to tell, than you would ever tell anybody else. But I get to get into all of those weeds and really get to know you as people. Mm-hmm. And me is the best part. And for me, my clients typically don't go away. They might go and do their thing for a while, but I always see them again. I just had another one about a week ago, out of the blue. And he's like, where's Mrs. Odle? I can't find her anywhere. And I'm like, right here. But I've been working with him since 2011 with him. When I started working with him, he was CEO of an international corporation. Now he's out there self-employed doing what he loves. And so it's always a process, but it becomes a relationship too. Just like, you and I have talked about it. If you're in Norwood, you're going to stay at my house. If I'm in El Paso, I'm going to come see you. That's the relationship, and the fact that we can help each other, that's huge. I have my Stoey Joey. It's in my car all the time because I love it. It's a great cover of my seats to keep my furry dogs from leaving their fur behind. But I love it. I take your product with me everywhere, and I know that after time of working with you, that sometimes you take some information that I have with you. And so that's all part of that relationship building stuff that goes on with coaching. And if I can help you, phenomenal. If you can help me, phenomenal. You're right. Because that's what small business is about, is really, us getting out there and helping people. And that's really what our products are. Why are we creating this product? Whatever it is, it's because we know our product's going to help somebody with a need. So,
and I can vouch for that. I can definitely say that the thing that I appreciate most about you is kind of the special touch that you bring. You can tell that you're very authentic, and that you are in it for the relationship. And so otherwise we wouldn't be here talking today. So thanks for that. Not all business owners think about the relationship. Maybe they just think about the monetary reward. So thanks for having me as your friend.
You guys are absolutely my friends. So, and like I said, that's my why, is that I want to build really good, meaningful relationships with people and help them with their money. Because if your money is working, then all the other things that you want in life can also work. And money is like 78% of the world is stressed out about money. Americans are stressed out about money in ways that no other place in the world is stressed out. And this is where we kind of get people look, there's like, oh, Americans are all wealthy. We want to be Americans. And it's like, yeah, wait a minute. Think about this for a nanosecond. You guys have to worry about, and I'm not being rude here, but I have a friend that's a missionary in Uganda right now, and they worry about each daily meal, killing rats under the couch, and whether they'll have a roof over their head. Their financial worries are much smaller scale. They are worries, but ours are insurance, housing, which is a lot more expensive here than there, costs which are a lot more expensive here than there. The things that we have to do by law, we have to pay taxes. We have to send our kids to school, and it kind of frowned upon when we send them to school naked. So we have to clothe them too. There's a lot of draws on American finances that don't exist in the rest of the world. And muddied water. I mean, you can look at anybody's budget, and it's not just food, housing, and transportation. It's food, and then it's eating out, and it's birthdays and Christmas, and it's not just housing, it's taxes, insurance, utilities. I mean, there's more and more and more things to think about with American finances.
Yeah. So I want to take listeners back for just a few minutes, and I want you to share what you were doing immediately before you started these businesses.
What I was doing?
Yes.
I started, let's see, way back when, okay. How far back do I want to go? In high school, I would walk past this bank every day that they were building. And the guys, I would see them slathering the bricks with the concrete and the mortar and putting the bricks on. And I thought that was fascinating. They were building something. I can't say I really wanted to be a bricklayer, but I love the aspect of them building something. And then I also love the aspect of banking, because in my world, I was raised in a city. And in my world, I wanted to live in a little town. So what lives in a little town? There's always a bank, and there's usually a post office. And so I was like, great, I will go into banking or possibly school teacher. So I was kind of flip-flopping and ended up in school to be a school teacher, and the curriculum was really bad. So I was like, ooh, not doing that. But I love the heart of a teacher. So that part never really left. So when I graduated college with degree in math and business, I thought, well, okay, what next? I'll go into banking. That was an idea. And I went into banking and started at the Bank of Telluride. If you've ever heard of Telluride, Colorado, you've probably seen a Coors Light beer can, and that's the mountain on the can, and that's Telluride, Colorado. So I got into banking, and then I thought, oh, I should probably, if I want to move up in banking, I should probably learn more. So I went to the city for a couple of years, and that was out. I did not want to live in the city. So I came back to Telluride and lived in a ranch without plumbing for a summer. That was fun. going to work every day at a bank and not having plumbing in your house was really a grand adventure. I just kind of, it was step by step. It was kind of an evolution of how I was getting to where I was going. I spent 4 years in banking, and at the end of the day, I was like, I really don't like this job. So I've got to do something different. At the same time, I loved my community. And so I bought a house here when I was 27. My first house is a little 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. I drive by it every day. Still there. It's still cute. Not mine anymore. But anyway, so then I got out of banking, and I ended up with a job as a temp for a developer. And he was basically what we are, serial entrepreneurs. He had 7 companies, and it was him in the office. Mostly real estate type development type companies, and he needed an office manager and a bookkeeper and somebody who could file all his ideas. So we had 5 file cabinets, and every day he's like, here's my ideas, could you put them in the file cabinet so I can find them later? This was before really good computers. And so that's what I did, is I managed his office for about 2 years. And one day he came running in, and he was so excited. And you guys know this feeling, this excited. I've got this idea and I can't wait to share it with the world, right? And he came in and he's like, because I've got this great idea, Christine, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to Denver and we're going to redevelop Stapleton Airport. And I said, I'm not going to Denver. It was a nanosecond. I was like, yeah, I'm not going. And he's like, oh, no, you don't understand. We're going to make all this money. It's going to be great. And you're going to just come with me. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go back to Denver. Then he just kind of looked at me and he was like, I'll be back in a minute. And he went into his office and he closed his door and he sat down. It was really quiet in there. And then he came out and he said, okay, I've figured it out. It's a money thing. I will triple your salary if you'll come to Denver with me. And I was like, no. So, you think about this. I was making $40,000 a year. He was offering me $120,000 to move. And I said, I'm not going. So he just said, he's like, okay. And he goes back to his office, closed his door, came back out. He goes, what do you want to do? And that changed my life. He cared enough about me to ask me what I wanted to do. And I said, I love working for you. I was in tears. He'd go in and close the door. I'd go crying. I'm like, oh my God, I'm employed now. Love my job and I'm unemployed. What am I going to do? And every time he kept coming out with a better deal. And he said, what do you love to do? And I said, I love what I do for you. I get to be involved in all your businesses and help you and navigate it all. And I love this. And he's like, great. Let's set you up with a business. And I talk about him in my book. He actually said, okay, let's do it. And what do you want to call the business? How do you want to structure it? What do your clients look like? And so he really was able, here I thought I was losing my life and my job. And here he was, I'm going to help you. And he was a client for many years. So
I think that's the last very, very, very important tip that you gave, which is really to follow your gut, your heart, and your instincts and your passion. Your mind told you that you weren't going for a reason. And so from that, you were able to get a coach who kind of started steering you in the direction of your true ambition, so to speak. So I'm really happy that happened to you. And I know that you're helping other entrepreneurs do that through your small business coaching also. So my last question is, do you listen to a song, or is there one particular song that you really, really love that helps motivate you and get you through tough times?
Well, it's funny you asked me that, because I watched one of your other podcasts. I'm like, I got to be ready for it with a song. So my typical depressing go-to song is Pink Floyd, I'm Comfortably Numb. It's just got such passion in it. But it's like, this is such a downer song. So I don't think that's my song, although I do love that song. My favorite is called The Best Day of My Life. I jumped so high I touched the clouds. Then the song part. I stretched my hands out to the sky. We danced with monsters through the night. Well, do you want me to read the whole thing to you? But I can read the whole thing. It's like, I'm never going to look back. Well, I'm never going to give up. No, please don't wake me up. This is going to be the best day of my life.
Woohoo! We'll play we'll play a small clip so people know which song it is. I'm sure everybody has heard it.
I stretch my hands out to the sky. We dance with monsters.
you so much for all your kind words and all your great tips. And tell everybody where they can find you and your book.
Well, the easiest place to find my book is, I'll show it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Amazon.com and write in Christine Odle, and it will come up this nice pretty cover. That way you can get it Kindle Unlimited. It's still for free, so if you have a Kindle, that's a great way. You can find me if you're looking for a speaker for personal or business finance. I have a speakers page, it's ChristineOdle.com. If you want to find my coaching page, it's RockandBB, RockInBB.com. And the book itself has a page, but it's kind of just linked to everything, but it's also rockingyourbusinessfinances.com. So, and my phone number is there. So if anybody wants to just call me, it's on all my websites. So just pick up the phone.
All right, Christine. Well, thank you so much for sharing all your valuable advice. I really, really appreciate it. And I love talking to you. You're always such a kind spirit.
Yeah, same to you. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, stay tuned, everybody, to the next episode. Bye-bye.